I want to ask y'all this question, and I know I've asked this numerous times before, but I genuinely want an answer from a few people in the comment section. What are you going to do when you see someone on the internet or in public saying things you disagree with? Are you A, going to respond reasonably and rationally to counter whatever it is that they're saying so that you can have respectful conversation? Or are you going to say some hyperbolic nonsense that makes you and whatever movement you support look stupid? I'm glad you picked option 1 because option 2 is what we're talking about today. Because the trans women in sports conversation is picked back up all because of some woman by the name of Riley Gaines.
Hi, my name is Riley Gaines. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Kentucky, where I was on the women's swim team. I proudly finished my career as a 12-time NCAA All-American, a 5-time SEC champion. I am one of the fastest 200 butterflyers of all time. But on March 17th of last year, my teammates and I and other female swimmers from universities around the country were forced to compete against a biological male named Leah Thomas. Thomas was allowed to compete in the women's division after competing as a member of the University of Pennsylvania's men's swim team for 3 years. We watched on the side of the pool as Thomas won a national title in the 500-yard freestyle, beating out the most impressive and accomplished female athletes in the country, including Olympians and American record holders. Whereas just the year before, Thomas at best was ranking in the 400s in the men's category. The next day, Thomas and I raced in the 200 freestyle, which ended up in a tie. We went the exact same time down to the 100th of a second. Having only one trophy, the NCAA told me that I would go home empty-handed and this trophy would go to Thomas. And when I questioned this, the NCAA told me that Thomas had to hold it for photo purposes. I was shocked. I felt betrayed and belittled, reduced to a photo op. But my feelings didn't matter. What mattered to the NCAA were the feelings of a biological male. In 1972, Congress enacted Title IX to end unjust sex discrimination in all aspects of education, including college athletics. But by allowing Thomas to displace female athletes in the pool and on the podium, the NCAA intentionally and explicitly discriminated on the basis of sex. Although the NCAA claimed it acted in the name of inclusion, its policies in fact excluded female athletes. But that is not all. In addition to being forced to give up our awards, our titles, and our opportunities, the NCAA forced female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas, a 6'4", 22-year-old male who was fully intact with male genitalia. Let me be clear. We were not forewarned. We were not asked for our consent, and we did not give our consent. If nothing else, I hope you can truly see how this is a violation of our privacy and how some of us have felt uncomfortable, awkward, embarrassed, and even traumatized by this experience. I know I don't speak for everyone. It's impossible to speak for everyone, but I can attest to the tears that were shed on that pool deck by these poor 9th and 17th place finishers who missed out on being named an All-American by 1 place. And I can attest to the extreme discomfort in the locker room when you turn around and there's a male watching you undress while exposing himself. I can attest to the anger and frustration from these girls who had worked so hard and sacrificed so much to get to this point. Unfortunately, our experiences are not unique. The number of female athletes who have been denied opportunities, again, traumatized or hurt by policies that claim to be promoting inclusion, is growing at an alarming rate around this country. It's simply unacceptable, and the integrity of women's sports is lost.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks so much.
And for some reason, in response to Riley Gaines, a professor decided to let the world know what would be the best option for people to understand the complexities and the issues of transgender individuals. And I quote, "Hey, want to know one of my all-time excellent parenting ideas? Let little children see penises and vulvas of various ages and sizes in a casual, normalized, totally safe way. The world will thank you for it, and so will those children when they grow up." Now, I'll be honest, I have never had coitus with a woman and inseminated my semen inside of her to 9 months later have a regretful decision at my feet, but I don't think a children or child of any capacity will thank me because I allowed them to see in a casual, normalized manner another human being's penis. I'm sorry, I'm not an educator, nor am I a professional journalist instructor, but I don't think that's something that's going to benefit children. I think it's going to traumatize them. And you know, I could sit here and rationalize anybody who wants to speak up on behalf of transgenders, whether it be a trans man or a trans woman, but I know this person didn't think it through because they're hiding their Twitter. Because of course, criticism for saying an obvious stupid thing is something a lot of these people don't realize because they're fighting against all these transphobic people who say things that they disagree with. Speaking of which, during her Twitter thread last month, Theme labeled Gaines a transphobe and said Gaines gets tearful about the emotional effect it had on her that Thomas, Leah Thomas, the swimmer, was holding the trophy which she had also won. That's just whiny. What a sore, not even loser. The professor also claimed that incidents involving women who are uncomfortable after encountering biological males in locker rooms fuels anti-trans activism. So, you know, if you just so happen to see someone changing and they're naked and they have something that you're not supposed to see in a, I don't know, women's locker room, and you are concerned about that and you are uncomfortable, believe all women goes out the window, because how dare you speak and criticize a transgender? Your uncomfortableness is nothing but more bigoted transphobia. Her thread continued, teenage girl on the swim team sees or claims to have seen a trans person in the nude in a woman's change room. Her anti-trans parent or parents kick it into high gear. They lean on the coaches, tell trans folks to change elsewhere. Coach says, no, we can't. That's discriminatory. They lean on the club admin, send a warning message to all members that trans folk are using these facilities. Admin says, hell no, that's crazy and would be very wrong. They contact Riley Gaines or other transphobes of their choice. They organize protest events, meetings, hearings, and whatnot. So this person does not like the fact that there are individuals, whether they be little girls or grown women or moms who just so happen to have children, who are uncomfortable with the fact that there is a transgender individual in the room, sometimes, not all the times, flashing a little bit of genitalia around where little girls are present. Don't think I forgot that y'all was protesting on behalf of a sex offender.
There's no such thing as transgender. He has a, okay? His penis is hanging out. Okay, no, I'm not one. Actually, I'm a woman who knows how to stand up and speak up for my right. As a woman, I have a right to feel comfortable without a man exposing himself, okay? No, you go somewhere else. Okay, so
that I must report I am talking with my editor about an update to my piece on the transphobic We Spa riots to reflect the fact that the New York Post is reporting charges have been brought against someone alleged to have been there. Anyone who follows me or who read my piece will know that I've never said the video that caused the riots was a hoax. That's a lie. I've said that I thought it was more likely a hoax than not. That's a lie. You stated that the police were in suspicion of it being a hoax. You yourself never stated that you thought it was possibly a hoax. You were outright saying that it was a hoax, genius, and you were insinuating that this situation led to even more incidents happening around the same time. Transgender has been arrested 15 months after exposing herself to women and girls at the We Spa in LA, triggering violent protests from Antifa goons who branded allegations of a bigoted hoax. Marager, a convicted sex criminal who identifies as a woman, had previously rebuffed the allegations, claiming to be the victim of transphobia. A story was then for months swept under the rug by the mainstream media, with many, including leftist radical group Antifa, defending Marager. The incident spawned months of protests, many of them violent, all while Marager's previous sex crimes continued to come to light. Eventually, Marager was unmasked as a registered sex offender convicted for similar incidents in 2002 and 2003. Also unearthed was a warrant for the sex pest arrest for a separate locker incident in December of 2018 and a laundry list of offenses stretching nearly 2 decades, including burglary and trespass. It is uncomfortable for them, but instead of rationalizing that concept and listening to what they have to say, no, they have to be transphobes who are relying on transphobic people to spread their message, because obviously they're not uncomfortable. They're just bigots who hate the concept of being around a trans person. No, you idiot. They're uncomfortable because they don't know who's around. All they see is someone who presents like a man who's saying that they're a woman and they're uncomfortable with them in a woman's space. We talk about safe spaces. We talk about how we need all these places for individuals who are marginalized to feel safe. Yet you are pushing out the people who that space was originally for.
The volleyball team has been banned from its own locker room while school officials investigate a conflict involving a transgender student on the team.
Kiana Burks is live outside of Randolph Union High School, where she talked with one of the players who is now facing disciplinary action. Kiana, what do you know?
Vermont education policy says that students can play sports and use whatever locker room corresponds with their gender. But some members of the Randolph girls volleyball team say that they object to having one of their transgender teammates be in the room while they change. I spoke to one of the girls.
It's a huge thing. Everyone's asking, like, so why aren't you allowed in the locker room?
High school student Blake Ellen and her teammates are currently barred from using the locker room after some of the girls on the team objected to allowing a transgender player in the girls' locker room.
My mom wants me to do this interview to try to make a change.
Ellen says the dispute started when the trans student made an inappropriate comment while members of the volleyball team were getting changed. She says her issue is not with having the trans student on the team or at school, but specifically in the locker room.
Biological boys that go in the girls' bathroom, but never a locker room situation.
She says that fellow team members and parents have also raised similar concerns and have approached the school with them. They were told that under state law, the transgender student could use whatever locker room they identified with. In an email to families, school officials said that the school has plenty of space where students who feel uncomfortable with the laws may change in privacy.
They want all the girls who feel uncomfortable, so pretty much 10 girls, to get changed in a single stall bathroom, which would take over 30 minutes, when if one person got changed separately, it would take a minute. No extra time.
In the email to parents, school officials say they are conducting an investigation into allegations the girls harassed the transgender student. Lisa Floyd, the co-principal of Randolph Union High School, declined to go on camera, but in an email told me that student safety was the district's highest priority and that when policies are violated, disciplinary action consistent with the law will be taken. We also reached out to the state education agency but didn't get a response. AOE policy states in part that the use of restrooms and locker rooms by transgender students requires schools to consider numerous factors. But the policy goes on to state that a transgender student should not be required to use a locker room or restroom that conflicts with the student's gender identity.
So every girl, no one's allowed in the locker room, no volleyball girls. Even during school to get changed for gym class, no one's allowed from volleyball.
And you know what's so funny is that you have this idea that everybody's a bigot, and your response is to normalize kids staring at private parts because reasons, and the world will see you as a better person. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna just ask this question right now. Feel free to answer it in the comment section for me down below. But if you're a parent, do you think the world will see you as a better person if you allow your child to see someone's nutsack in a casual, normalized manner? What's that? No? Well, color me surprised. You're actually a decent human being and a good parent. It is ungodly how we come to these ideas based on nothing but our own personal feelings, and I wish people would stop doing that for the sake of not looking stupid on social media. Because why are you jumping through all these hoops to negate anything Riley Gaines says? Why are you jumping through all these hoops to negate what any parent has said about themselves being uncomfortable, whether if they have a daughter in the vicinity too, or they're just by themselves? Why is the idea to just label somebody transphobic the first move instead of, oh, I don't know, listening to what they have to say, hearing them out, actually educating them if they're saying something derogatory or bigoted? No. We just got to make ourselves look like Twitter warriors and say everybody's a label based on nothing but our own personal feelings. And that doesn't work, because now, instead of trying to paint everybody as a transphobe, people are looking at you as nothing more than a groomer who wants kids to see people's nuts. So guess what? Congratulations, you dumbass. You are a failure as an advocate, and dare I say, a failure as a professor. Subscribe to the channel. I know we all want to be inclusive and whatnot, but we will never get there listening to people like this. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.